Hey, it's the big guy Scott Ferrara here. We had some news coming out of Twitter from some reputable sources about some teams and the league itself, or the state of some of the teams in the league. Um, so me, Ty, and Hammer thought I should get on, kind of go through some of it, what's being said, who's saying it, so you guys get the gist of what's going on. Um, and I'm trying to use this stupid thing here, and it's not working. So give me a second to change these settings. I'm just going to turn this off here. I think I'm going to have better. There we go. I'm already having better things. So, for those of you that maybe not have not been paying attention today, we did post some tweets from a couple people this morning or this afternoon rather about the state of the Guiltinis and the state of uh, the AGs. One of those sets of tweets was a 5-part based tweet from the United States Rugby Players Association. So, just to give you a little background on what they do, USRPA is an independent players union established by and operated for the benefit of professional rugby players in America. We are recognized. We are the recognized collective bargaining representation for the players on the United States national teams, both men's and women's sevens and 15s, run by the national governing body, USA Rugby, and their mission is to serve, protect, represent, promote, and develop players both on and off the pitch. For the sport of rugby at large, we seek to help grow rugby in grow rugby in the North American sporting landscape. In our representative capacity, we work to ensure that players are always a central stakeholder in the process. This approach is reflected in our motto: "Grow the player, grow the game." One of the things they are looking to do, they have secured a majority of the support from the MLR players, and they're looking to seek recognition. Excuse me, by Major League Rugby to initiate a similar relationship with the league, that being the collective bargaining representative for the players in the MLR. So currently, right now, what are we talking about? Right now, the MLR players are not unionized. They are not represented by anybody. We've talked about this, um, you know, probably 2 or 3 years ago when we first started the show. We've talked about it since. Since the union talk has died down, we haven't pursued it. But so right now they are not unionized, right? So what transpired today was a couple of tweets. So USRPA, their first tweet said, given the circumstances of the last few months, the USRPA sympathizes with the Giltinis and Gilgronis players, staff, and families. In light of recent events, we have noted the following. LA and Austin players were informed this week by both teams that they haven't yet found buyers. Players and staff are owed large sums of money. Medical bills and rent left unpaid by the team are going to collection under players' names. Players and families were asked to vacate team apartments with only a day's notice. The league waited 5 months to act and will now put players in a dispersal draft, which will see players being allocated to teams for far, far less than the market value because many team rosters are close to complete. Many players may not have a say in where they play. Players' first official contact from the league via this situation happened today. That's Tuesday, October 18th. Players in contact with the league have not received actionable responses. We expect the league to show transparency and understanding with players and staff tied to this unfortunate situation. The livelihood and careers of 80-plus players, staff, and their families are in jeopardy, and transparency and action is necessary. So let me make a few comments on their statement. So first off, this isn't the first time we've had teams leave the league and give their players short notice, i.e. Dallas. Listen, we've called them out before when it first happened. They gave their players a month notice before the 2021 season was going to start, and they weren't going to be a part of it. So this isn't the first time this has happened, right? Secondly, medical bills and rent left unpaid. So the players work for the teams, right? They work for the league. They're covered under workers' comp. I know that for a fact. You have to be. They're not considered contracted players. They're covered under workers' comp. So why medical bills aren't paid? That's on the teams. That's absolutely 100% on the teams. The rent left unpaid, same thing. So the way these contracts work is there's ancillary things like rent, cars, transportation for the teams for some of these players, right? And this happens everywhere. This doesn't just happen. I'm live on the air, so you can leave, please. Thank you. My wife interrupting me and yelling at me, as you know, every Tuesday night goes. Um, now she's trying to get the dogs out. So rent is something that a lot of teams do. I believe those rent amounts and those ancillary things go to the league, so that way the league knows, hey, we're paying for so and so's rent. It's not part of their contract, so it's not considered part of their compensation for the salary cap. But the league knows about it. The league knows it's happening. They've reported it, right? So those two things square on the shoulders of the teams. No doubt about it. I mean, there's no other way to say it. That's a rough situation. Vacating the premises within days' notice, same thing. You have people with families that now need to find housing very quickly. You have people that need to find housing uh, that have children that don't necessarily live in this country full time, or we're living in this country full time. Um, and we're trying to make a life here, and now without the help of the team, don't know where they're going to go. DeMonte Noble, MLR player, USA Eagle, uh, coming in there. Chris Lynn making me feel bad because my wife is coming in and yelling at me. Love you, Chris. Our buddy the Hammer, he's out right now supporting one of his friend's daughters at their soccer match. Hopefully they won. And he's right. Imagine having to be on the Eagles and your partner's here, and you're in South Africa, being part of the Eagles, and now you have to deal with this situation. It's crazy. So going back to their statement. The league waited 5 months to act and will now put players in the dispersal draft. So let me talk about the league. Not knowing anything, apropos to nothing. What I do know is when you're being sued by somebody, it's usually not in your best interest to come out and talk and to do things to make things official. Do I know that's what the league was doing? Absolutely not. Do I think that's what the league was doing because at the time they were being sued by the AGs and LA? That could be a reasonable explanation. They still might be being sued now. There's a lot of silence from the league. There's a lot of speculation on the league. There's a lot of speculation at the top of the league and who's currently running the show. We're not going to get into that right now. So as far as the dispersal draft, the way it went last time, and Rob can correct me if I'm wrong here. So they lined up, and teams have rights to pick guys up, right? The way it worked was they used the same round, the same way we did the rounds of the draft, right? Not including trades. So however you would have lined up in the first round of the draft, Dallas being first, right? Without any of the trades, that's how the dispersal draft starts. So Rooney would be the last team to have a pick. Dallas would be the first team to have a pick. And going by how you ended up in the standings is doing that way. So it's going to look a little different than what the actual draft looked like, which included the pick trades, right? From what I know, the last time they had the dispersal draft, the team gets the right to the player. They can negotiate with that player. If that player does not want to play that for that team, I believe they have to wait until mid-season and then can sign somewhere else. Again, Rob will correct me if I'm wrong on that one. So we have seen this dispersal draft happen when actually we saw it twice. Actually, we saw it happen when Colorado left, and then when Dallas left, or Dallas didn't play in 2021. So at that point, to be honest, from what I've seen, just like the regular MLR draft, if you have a person who's really not going to come play for you for whatever reason, whether it's they have a job somewhere else or their family won't be able to make the destination, to live there, most teams will be talking to players and understand that. So they will generally be picking players that they know they can sign and will want to come to play for them. And then after the dispersal draft, I believe if you're not signed, you're just a free agent and you can sign anywhere you want to. It's an interesting way they do the draft, but that's the rules as me and Rob and Ty have read them from the previous dispersal draft. As far as their market value, not really sure. I mean, obviously, if you're a top tier talent, teams are going to want to try and sign you for top tier money. I understand that there's always a limit, obviously, to what teams can do now. But I have to be honest, from 4 years of doing this and 3 years on the podcast, and there are room for these players on rosters. The rosters aren't finalized yet, as we know. They're really not. Do you know who you're trying to keep? Yes. You know who's looking to go? Yes. But I have to be honest. I think part of their statement where they talk about you know allocation and not having teams are have so many players that they know they want to sign. Yes and no. We've seen it where guys are signed 2 or 3 days before and they're big names. You know what I mean? So I think that's not as that situation as far as roster slots is more fluid than we think, especially since we have a lot of players in this league that are on one and done contracts every year. You know, um, again, the first official contact. I mean, I'm going by them saying the first official contact happened today. I don't know. As far as actionable answers, again, I could go back and say, maybe again they can't say anything because they are being sued and this, that, and the other thing, and that's gonna hurt them in a certain point. And I understand people being pissed off at the league. Don't get me wrong. We're always pissed off at the league. We feel they're not transparent. We feel, I mean, transparent in just about every single way. How they didn't have just a regular statement put out by somebody at this point, just saying, you know, we're sorry this happened. We're taking steps to try and rectify it. They don't have to say what steps. They don't have to give us details all the time, but just acknowledge the fact that this is happening. That's what they need to do. Um, the other tweet that came out, and again, we reported on it earlier today. Adam Ash, former LA Giltini, came out and he tweeted, and just bear with me while I pull it up here so I can actually quote what he said. And Adam Ash tweeting, really feeling for the players and staff at the Giltinis. Over 4 months have passed since the team were eliminated from the playoffs. All people within the organization have been heavily discouraged about speaking out regarding this subject. The players and the staff are the ones suffering here. From what I understand, there's been no contact, support, communications from the league or the owner to the players. Apparently, they have until Thursday to find a buyer, or it's over. One last chance at advertising the buying opportunity. Again, let's see with Rob here. That's the issue. Many teams are signing or re-signing players, cap, roster space. Exactly. But again, I don't know how much the value really diminishes at this point. If we're talking about January starting in February, absolutely. I think right now there's a lot of teams that have some leeway. Again, that's not an excuse. I'm just saying what I think, where I think teams are right now as far as their team signings. Which is another thing that we see. A lot of teams wait to sign, for whatever reason. Sometimes I think it's these foreign contracts these guys are under for some of the foreign players, where they wait for the player to make sure that they've completed their season safely, healthily, and then they can say, okay, we signed so and so after they played in the Bunnings, things like that. But let's talk about Adam Ash real quick and his comments. Again, it seems as though, from what he's talking about, the league hasn't said anything. The owner hasn't said anything. Now, if you haven't seen it, Adam Gilchrist has been in the news quite often, especially in the Southern Hemisphere, for some issues he's having with some of his businesses. Again, speculation. Nobody can get in contact with him. The IRS is looking for him. Other people, other regulatory bodies are looking for him. He's selling his homes in certain places. Which is that's a personal thing. But the point being, how do you not reach out to your own players, the guys who spilled blood for you the past 2 years? Most of the guys won you a championship the year before, so I find it really weird that that happens. And Doug Wilkie brings up a good point. The league should adjust the salary cap to help for this. And I believe when it happened in Dallas, due to the timing, and again, Rob can correct me if I'm wrong, there were some salary cap adjustments to those particular players, and I can see that happening again. It was one of those things. Again, you want to make sure these guys stay within this league. You want to make sure they're state employed. You want to make sure they're playing American rugby where we need them to play American rugby, North American rugby. Excuse me. I never want to forget my arrows up there. Thanks, Dougie. And I think they should be making the accommodations for that. Again, we need to keep these players here. They got a raw deal from the team. I just find it funny that now players are starting to actually come out and say something. It's funny. I thought Adam Ashe um, would have came out beforehand because he's been with the Glasgow Warriors in Scotland for the past couple months. So I guess he just realized now, or he has said now, I can talk about it because other people are talking about it. We have some questions, Chris. Can the league essentially pay these dispersed players on a one and done? From what I know, the league is the money gets pooled to the league and the league pays the players. So if they're contracted, that should happen. The question becomes if on Thursday they don't find a buyer and all this stuff that the USA RPA is saying is correct, then their contracts are null and void for this particular season. So I think it's more of the league needs to change something on their end to help the current teams that are going to play in 2023 with a salary cap. So when is the MLR making this official? They should do it sooner rather than later. I hear that, Rick. But again, if there's a deadline on Thursday, legally, I wouldn't make any. If it was me, legally, I wouldn't make any statement until Thursday came and went. So that way, on Friday, you could say, by legal design, the teams aren't playing. We are having a dispersal draft. This is when it's happening. Yada 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 yada. Again, there's a lot of speculation with this. These sources could be wrong. The only reason I'm talking about it is because there's a lot of questions and we know how the dispersal drafts happened previously. We're not here to indict anybody, the league or the teams on the situation personally. We just want to make sure that you guys are getting some information about how things went prior when we did have these types of events happen. The other thing is, hey, Giltini and AG fans, we are here for you. We are fans. Me, Hammer, Ty, Doug Wilkie, Rick Meyer, Chris Lind, TJ Olson, everybody we have on the show, Rick Collins. We're fans. We do this type of stuff to have fun. We do this type of stuff to bring the league and the teams out of here. But we're fans too, and we sympathize with the fact that you guys are getting a raw deal. So if you're a fan of another team, go say hello to an AG's fan or a Giltini's fan if you know them, and just say, hey, we're with you guys. We love you guys. If the teams fold on Thursday and there's no team for you, embrace those people that are going to come and have them be a fan of a different team. That's perfectly acceptable. This is what the rugby values are all about, right? We want to take these people in and show them they may have gotten a raw deal by somebody, but hey, we're going to keep them here with the MLR fans. There's so many good MLR fans out there. So many fans I've met over the past 4 years that have just been unbelievable to me, unbelievable to the people I know, unbelievable when you're going to visit them. I hope I'm giving the same thing when you guys come visit us here in New York. That's the kind of love we want to show. But I also do want to point out, we talk about these teams and folding and this and the other thing. This stuff is happening in the UK as well. Just look at the Wasps and the Warriors this season, right? The Wasps officially folded today, and you had a bunch of MLR players and MLR coaches and people associated with USA Rugby who played for the Wasps. And we're posting once a Wasp, always a Wasp because they played for them and they felt that organization was great. But that type of stuff is happening in England in the Premiership. We're talking about the Wasps and Worcester who can go to and play in the European Championship and things like that. And it's happening to those teams. That's a set model, right? We always say, well, what do we want to model on as MLR league and MLR teams? And we point to the UK and the Premiership and say, hey, we want to do that. Well, guess what? It's not working out for them either. They're having cash flow problems. They're shutting down mid-season. You have all these players and their academy players that really can't do anything right now. And it's upsetting. And some of these players, were being looked at by Eddie Jones for the national team and where they're going to go apply their trade. And they might not get a fair shake of being on their national team this year because of mismanagement, right? And mismanagement is always unacceptable. Regardless of what we know, something has gone wrong here, whether it's league mismanagement, whether it's ownership mismanagement, whatever the case, there's mismanagement and it can't happen. Guys, you guys know I love you. Chris Lynn, there you go. Free Jacks Nation is here for you. So are the Rooster Boosters. Toronto Wolfpack, pro rugby, growing pains are real and expected. This was a death blow for pro rugby when they couldn't play any of their players. Now, I know quite a few owners of teams in this league. I trust them. I trust them to do the right thing. I trust that they're good people. So, guys, just have that trust in your ownership. Question your ownership. A lot of these guys are on social media, have email addresses. If you think you have a question or you need an answer to something regarding your team, feel free to send them the question. You may not get an answer, but it's your right. You're the guys who keep the team. You're the people who keep the teams going, whether it's ticket sales, whether it's merch sales, however you need to do. There we go. San Diego's always looking for more Legionnaires. There we go. Gotta love it. But guys, thank you so much for watching. This was just a quick hit, talk about what was going on. If there's more stuff that's going on the next couple days, I might hop back on again, just to give you a little more information. And our boy Rucky the Seawolf, Seattle Pod is here for everybody. Gotta love it. Episode 110, we got our friend Wendy Young on the episode to talk about the World Cup down in New Zealand right now. It's a great episode. Go watch it. Coming out Thursday, episode 110, 8 p.m., 7 a.m. Friday, wherever you listen to podcasts. Guys, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Chris, I appreciate you too. You're always a great fan. You always encourage people. Everybody on that list that I shouted out are all great fans, always encourage people. Guys, I love you. We will get through this. The league is happening in 2023. Get friggin' ready because we're going to have a great season in 2023. Catch you guys later.